Hi, my name is Ryan Sloan, and I want to welcome you back for episode 2 here on the Gear Cage channel. And today we're actually going to continue where we left off last episode, talking about audio interfaces. But this time we're going to talk about a few more advanced topics, what we'll call 201. So audio interface 201, here we go. So first of all, we talked last time about the components of an audio interface and that an audio interface is used to get audio into and out of your computer, like an audio hub. One way to think of an audio interface that we didn't mention was as like an all-in-one TV, DVD, VCR combo, because an interface has a few core components typically. One, the preamp. When you plug your microphone in, it's going into the preamp, which is boosting the signal to a clean and audible level. So you can buy a preamp on its own actually, but a lot of interfaces do come with preamps that you can use built in, because the whole idea behind an interface is to be convenient and easy to capture high quality audio. Two, once you go through the interface and into the preamp, you go into the converter. And this is actually the piece that takes the analog audio, like me speaking in this room, and digitizes it into ones and zeros. So there is a lot of science and technology and R&D that goes behind doing this accurately to make it sound good. And this is where you'll get a lot of different sound quality differences in your audio interface. So it's not often talked about, but the actual converter inside the audio interface plays a huge, huge role in the quality of the sound that gets captured. The third part of an audio interface we'll talk about today is the monitoring section. A lot of audio interfaces have the capability to plug directly into a set of stereo speakers or give you high quality headphone reference output. In the case of this audio interface from Universal Audio, it also has a DI input that you can plug an instrument directly into to record. So again, an audio interface becomes this hub for your studio that allows you to do everything with just one box. So it's fantastic. Now, the last component of an audio interface we'll talk about here on this video is the connection method. And that is how audio is getting into and back out of the interface. There are three main formats this day and age. One being USB, which is the most popular because it works well on PC, on a Mac, on a tablet, or even a phone. There is also Thunderbolt, which this uses, which gives you more bandwidth and faster connection to the computer, which means lower latencies. And there is also networked formats such as Dante and AVB. And those are great for large-scale deployments or studios where you're sharing gear from different rooms. And we'll talk more about that actually in its own video in the future. So again, at an essence here, an audio interface can be thought of like an all-in-one TV, VCR, DVD player because it's doing all these things in one box. So to put it in perspective, if you were to go to a commercial recording facility, sometimes you will see an audio interface these days because the quality on them has gotten so great, especially with the Antelope Audios of the world and the Universal Audios of the world, or RME, making fantastic quality boxes that are able to really both capture and output very high quality sound. But you'll also find in commercial facilities where you might need more channels, standalone converters. This huge heavy box is actually only a converter. So this is only doing the conversion into and out of the analog signal. There are no headphone outputs on here. There are no preamps on this box, but this particular box does do 16 channels. So 16 channels in and 16 channels out in a studio. And this is actually used for a Pro Tools HD system. You can actually stack these on top of one another, and you can do hundreds of channels with these boxes at one time. So you can see there's a lot of variety out there when it comes to that. Speaking of preamps, again, you can also use external preamps with audio interfaces, especially if you just have a 1/4 inch input on a an interface, or if you have a preamp that's bypassable on your audio interface. And actually, back here on the shelf here, you'll see we have just a 500 series box, which we'll talk about more in a future episode, that you can run individual preamps or EQs or compression in on the front end. So there are just a myriad of options out there when it comes to choosing audio interfaces, understanding how they work and fit into your system. Let's talk about one more thing, and that is the channel count that you need. When you start planning your studio, this is actually a critically important part of the process. So you want to know what you're going to be recording. For instance, if you're going to be recording just a podcast or a voiceover, or just doing maybe slight small audio edits, you don't need to get as large of a system if you are planning on recording a full band. So this is a critically important thing to note, because it's always easier to record fewer channels than you need, but it's generally impossible to record more at one time than you have available. So interface planning is very important for that reason. Now, again, for a home studio use, boxes like the Apollo Twin are fantastic. You have just a couple of inputs on it, a couple of outputs, and it's great for editing or recording a vocal and guitar part, simple stuff like that. The Apollos do also have DSP built in that allow you to use the Universal Audio plugins, or UAD plugins, both while recording and also mixing to get higher quality production. And that's something that really, for the most part, no audio interfaces are doing at that level to this day. Antelope does have some options here, but they're a little bit more limited and not as flexible, or in my opinion, good sounding. Now, in the description here, I'll actually list some of the higher end audio interfaces that include larger channel counts for you to take a look at. So whether you need 16 inputs for a full band, or you need 32 or 64 inputs, maybe for something larger scale, we'll be putting all of that in the notes. And in the future, we'll be doing a deep dive into specific audio interfaces and converters, and talking about chipsets, preamps, and getting a little bit more technical in our analysis. But if you do have any questions or anything you'd like to see, please leave it in the comments or send us a message, and we'll be happy to address that for you, okay? My name is Ryan Sloan. Thank you again for watching, and please do subscribe if you are enjoying the channel.